So we are going to start. Today is we have a special guest, Felicia Lauw, to join us. And the Asian Coaching Supervisors Network started a year ago or so. I think Michelle Morale has been with me doing this since the beginning, I think. And he works in the middle of the night to be sure that he participates too. And our goal is to bring more visibility of coaching supervision in Asia. And everybody's welcome. This is not only for supervisors, it's also for coaches or anybody who's interested and curious about coaching supervision. So it's a free complimentary session. We have different speakers. Last year, we mainly did demos and experiences where we have supervision, group supervision rotating. And this year, we changed the format to have more presenters and guests to talk about different topics. Oh. And today we have Felicia Lauw, who is one of the pioneers of coaching supervision in Asia. And we knew Phil with Coaching Supervision Academy, where she's the main, I don't know if your position is director of the program in Asia, in Singapore. What is the position, Felicia?
I program lead for China and India, and I'm a faculty for the CSA global faculty. So I sometimes work in the UK programs as well. US program is too difficult for me in terms of time zone.
So welcome to our call today. And what we do is always we ask everybody to introduce each other. Just say your name and where you're calling from. Okay, so briefly, so we get to know. We also want to create a community of coaching supervisors that we know each other and we support each other in our work. So who would like to start really briefly? Just say your name and where you're calling from.
Michel from Paris.
Thank you. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello, this is Catherine. I am calling from Portland, Oregon, USA.
Wow, okay, welcome.
Kim Kazimfratz calling from Shanghai.
Welcome.
Jaya from India.
I'm Yusun from Korea.
Hi, Yusun.
Tina from Taipei, Taiwan. You first.
Sorry, okay. Su Cheng from Singapore.
Tina from Taipei, Taiwan.
Larissa from Canada.
Hi, Larissa.
I think you from Kuala Lumpur.
Welcome, everybody. Bye, Robbie. Robbie, go ahead.
Yeah, Robbie here from Portland, Oregon. Good morning to you.
And Michael Cullen calling from Montreal, Canada.
Welcome. Alex, your phone was off. Your speaker.
Alex calling is signing in from Seoul, and so nice to meet you, Jeff. Long time no see.
Absolutely, Alex. Hope everything's going very well. Thank you.
Judy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Judy from Suzhou, China.
Welcome, Judy.
Welcome.
Well, I think that now, most people have introduced each other. So Felicia, we are ready to work with you. So we have 1 hour, and if you want at any time go to small rooms, let me know and I can help you to set it up.
Lovely, thank you. Let me introduce myself first. One of the things, oops, I can't share screen, huh?
You should be able to do it now.
Okay, just a minute. One of the things that I apologize to my colleagues, one of the things I find that's easier for me to do webinars like this is I share some of what I want to say on screen in case my accent is wobbly and you don't understand me. So at least I have some text to support me. So please forgive me for using some slides to go along with today. Really appreciate Damien for inviting me to come along and play in the Asian Supervisor Network. It's a real privilege. I have been involved in many things, and my commitment, Damien, is to come on board to the Asian Network. So what I've been in supervision since sort of talking about supervision in starting from 2015. I was first trained in 2013. And then I really saw the value of that, and I try to do my bit in terms of helping people understand a little bit more about supervision, what it does, and how it can support the coach's practice. So ICF-PCC, EMCC certified supervisor. I'm also the ALTS regional coordinator here, so trying to promote and also get support for people, and also supporting the Asian Supervisors Network so that we begin to grow and learn and also provide services to our coaches in this region. The other thing is I'm also volunteering for EMCC Global Accreditation Supervisor. That's where I have the joy to work with Michelle on that work group, along with other colleagues around the world. And for CSA, I'm actually looking into promoting the program or training more coaching supervisors in China, as well as India. I don't know how that will look like, but hey, I often like an adventure. So I see supervision to me as an adventure. Sorry. Hello, I don't know who's empowered. So I'm also looking at the chat room as I speak to you. So what prompted me to, when Damien said, could you come and do a webinar with us? What prompted me was, at that point, COVID was already in our system in Singapore. I started with when it first happened in China. And even before COVID, actually, if I look at the whole of last year, my clients, my supervisees clients were going through pretty unpredictable times in terms of the economy, in terms of the trade war. So we had ripples of those kind of things happening in our systems, yeah. And also then we have the fires. So from the nature, we are getting some signals. From the financial world, we're getting some data. So all this is in the mix for us. So that's why I started to pay attention to this topic called relational presence. Before I get in there, I would like to share something. I'm not sure if the supervisors or the participants here today, or friends today really, are familiar with relational presence. So I thought Jack Cornfield has a very simple way of helping me explain this. So each time when we meet another human being and honor their dignity, we help those around us. Their hearts resonate with ours, and exactly the same way the strings of an unplugged violin vibrate, with the sounds of a violin playing nearby. So I thought, to me, it's a simple way of explaining what relational presence is. And although Damien has said, this is like a webinar sharing, but I think if I look across the room, there's so much wisdom here that it's a shame if I don't harness all of your wisdom. So what I like us to do is really to, I think my role today is more like an orchestra conductor. So conducting all the melodies that's going to come from you, each and every one of you, your wisdom, and that we can all resonate together and make a new song for supervision today. So that's my hope in coming for this hour. So what I like, probably this is a great time to begin. Before we get there, sorry, may I ask that we just take a breath, just put down our pens and papers, just let go of whatever we're doing at the moment. And you have your own way of coming into the room, coming back to your center. If you have, please do it your way. If not, then what I like to do is just lead us through a simple breathing exercise to just come into presence with each other. Right, so having our feet on the ground. As we breathe, imagine the breath coming up the back of our body. It might help if you want to guide your neck so that your spine is straight. And just imagine a string pulling us taller, stronger, firmer. And as we breathe out, the breath comes down the front of the body, back down to the feet. Thank you for doing that. Let's try that again. Breathing in, straightening and lengthening. Breathing out, thinking of someone that makes you smile. And allowing the feet to go back, allowing the breath to go back down to the feet. And as we breathe, take the next breath in. Imagine there's an energy bubble, there's a balloon around us, there's a heat, whatever, however you visualize it. Think about encapsulating all the rest of us who's in this room in your bubble. So as you breathe in and out, your bubble expands. And just welcoming the other people into your bubble. And just sending a sense of well wishes their way, our way. And so that we'll work in this bigger bubble today. And slowly, just starting to wriggle your fingers and toes, we come back into contact with each other and in your own time. Right. Like I said, I love it to be interactive. So feel free to come in to the call. If you like, speak to me. We can interact. I'm quite used to that. Tell me, how are you now? Or you can type into the chat. Sorry, centered. Thank you. And how does it feel when you're centered?
Rooted.
Rooted. Thank you. Anyone else? More relaxed, thank you.
More connected.
More connected. Lovely. So that's an experience of how we begin to work with each other. More calm, thank you. More present. Thank you, Damien. Yeah. So in this state of more rooted, calmness, centered, I'd like to now invite you into smaller groups to just think about this question, these 3 questions. Or just this 2 first, let's not go very far. So what are you noticing about your supervisees? If you're coaches on the call, what are you noticing about your clients? So we're just, wanting to get your insight. What are you noticing? And the other thing is, what are you noticing about the way you're working with your supervisees or clients right now? So if we can go into a breakout room, say, for about 5-7 minutes, just to discuss, not too many, not too, let's give us 10 minutes. Go into a breakout room and talk about that.
How many people do you want in each breakout room? 3 or 4? Will that work?
3 or 4 will be lovely, yeah.
Okay, so the computer is doing this.
It's okay, we will wait, and whatever, when it's ready, it's ready. No stress, Damien.
Okay, chef. Okay, I think it's ready.
It gives people time to think about it.
Do you want to go to one of the rooms too?
Yeah, I'll go to one of the rooms too.
Okay, so
I'll participate.
So 10 minutes, and I will let people know when you have 2 minutes to return.
Yes, so what?
Her business are negatively affected severely.
Yeah.
So how to recover? and what she needed to be prepared after this COVID is a real challenge for her. So actually she's now with a bit more attention than before. So the answer to the second question, how am I working with her? Actually, I found myself that her stress and tension actually transferred to me. So I'm experiencing, I'm also under tension and stress because after the coaching session, I feel very tired, and then I'm concerned, and if I could help her in better way, I mean in terms of her problem solving, how I can contribute better, but I don't know either on the uncertain situation. So that is how I'm experiencing now.
Thank you for being so clear about how you experience and how you experience yourself after. Really nice awareness. Thank you. Sue?
Thank you.
I'm not coaching that much these days because the programs are on hold. I think it will start again in towards the end of May or June. I can sense that it's all coming back on. So in the last 2 months, I've been having a relatively relaxed time. I've got a few clients, but they are fine. They're just carrying on with what they're doing. Yeah, nothing much has changed for them except having to work from home, and therefore having to deal with the children at home. I think that's the main thing, and how to stay calm and relaxed about that. Yeah, and how am I working with them? I'm very calm. I think this period of staying at home has really helped me to be calm and to be the way of being is different from how I was. I think when I'm in the pre COVID-19. Before COVID-19, I call it BC. So in the BC, I would be rushing around trying to do all.
BC, what a nice term. Okay.
And but now I'm learning to really be more relaxed and to go with the flow and to take things as they are. It really, I guess, it's about not sweating the small stuff anymore, and knowing what's really important in the world today, right?
Yeah.
And paying attention to that, about connecting with ourselves, especially first, before we connect with other people, and connecting with the source and the guides and so on. So so how am I working my client? I'm really spending more time working on myself. That's how I feel that I can then, when we get out again, I will have more to give.
Yeah, that's such a good thing to do. Thank you for doing that for yourself and for your clients. Damien, you're in our room. Hello. Would you like to join us?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, before it got, the computer sent people to rooms automatically. Before, people used to choose. Now, I don't know. There's a different system where everybody sent advantages and disadvantages of the technology. So what I have seen, what Sue was saying, I hear a lot about people changing their values, what is important to them in these times. So it's like we are all looking at our lives and how we are living and what's going on, and we are reconsidering when we had to be all day at home, how is our life? And how we want it to be and what will be different. So then you hear people saying, okay, nothing will be the same. And then you have the pessimists that say, yeah, there is not going to be anything, different things. But for me, I think that what I have seen as a supervisor is that there is a lot of emotionality. A lot of emotionality. People are very charged for everything. Like the same thing that you were talking about, you being in the house with the children, sometimes with the parents too.
Yes.
Because sometimes parents are going back to leaving their places and staying safer in their homes with their adult kids, and I feel a level of emotionality for the client, and also for us, for me too. Like I feel that emotionally I'm more triggered than I used to. Like I found myself that my emotions also go like in a roller coaster, and then I wonder what's wrong with me, you know. And then I say, okay, well, we're all in this together, you know. Like,
yeah, we're such wise words. That we are all in this together. No one can escape unless, well, I can't say no one. Maybe there's some hermits in the mountain somewhere who is completely oblivious of all this. But normal people like us would be, you know, exposed to news and all that. So I'm going to say, what am I experiencing? I work with from clients to supervisees, and we serve what I call the corporate environment more. And they are just getting very tired from, you know, economic turmoil. So a lot of questions like Damien, you talk about, people are questioning, you know, the funny thing is, what I observe is they're questioning, oh, I need to change the world. It will never be the same again. And their body hasn't followed. So the body is still trying to, like, you know, do the same things. It's trying to keep a routine, you know. So you see a lot of people saying, oh, find a routine. But the routine they find is sort of trying to replace what they had before. So their body hasn't caught up. The memory is still in the old days, yeah. So they're just, and that's a struggle because the world has changed. So again, like all of you, what I'm finding is that this period of time, I get tired a lot more easily because of the amount of information and amount of energy we're holding in the system. I think you use emotionality, Damien. I think you soon as well, you say, you know, my client is very stressed. Actually, for us to hold all that takes quite a bit unconsciously. So that's why I took this opportunity, Damien, that you gave me to come really to, you know, remind ourselves of we are human too, and we're just on this journey together with them. And that, you know, because maybe my self-critic is louder than yours, Damien. What my self-critic is saying, you should know this better, you know. Yeah, you are like,
or because we are coaches or supervisors, we are supposed to be able to manage everything perfectly, you know.
Exactly, this performing coach in me going, I should know this better, or this performing supervisor, I should be better control. Hey, look, tone down. That's what I tell my critic friend.
Now, what you say is important because in terms of holding the space, as coaches, we need to hold the space for the client. But as supervisors, we're holding the space for the coaches and the clients. So it can, for a supervisor, can be heavy. We really have a lot of work. Can be really, and I am not sure if people are really aware of that.
Yes. And that's why I go around. Recently, this 3 months, I've been talking about relational presence a lot more. I did one in Chinese as well, because I don't think, you know, a lot of us are dealing with, in the corporate world, a lot with the head. But these are actually energetic influences that we are not, emotional influences that we're not paying attention to. I can't say we're not aware. I don't want to say that we're not aware, but we don't pay attention enough. So, yeah.
The message to tell people that they have 2 minutes. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it.
Okay, so sorry. I'm going to send the 2 minutes reminder to people.
It's all right. You do what you need to do. So I'm curious. Just from, you know, that round of sharing, what are some of the things that's coming to you right now, Yusun and Sucheng? Well, Damien is hard at work with the technology.
Well, it's so interesting that I'm feeling tired on certain days, right? And I have no idea why I'm feeling tired. And I keep telling myself I shouldn't be feeling tired. I'm not doing that much, right? So now you and Damien have really alerted me that the tiredness is from the system, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
And I've been wondering, or I like, you know, yeah, criticizing myself. Why am I feeling tired? I'm not doing much. But it is. I am on certain days really fatigued.
Yeah.
Yeah, and exhausted. And I'm wondering, where has my time gone? You know, the day seems to be so short.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for alerting me to that tiredness is, well, to accept the tiredness and that it is part of what's going on.
Well, yeah, I'll say it back in the, you should, yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually getting used to use this, you know, the technology, you know, meeting in screen. And then, you know, most of my meetings with the coach colleagues are done now through Zoom. So I think my colleagues are also getting used, and even we find it sometimes more effective. So I predict that a lot of trainings probably will be done through the Zoom or other tools even after COVID in our society. But one-on-one coaching, not sure yet, because clients still prefer face-to-face. Actually, I'm visiting customer site, and then we talk, you know, with wearing mask. Not effective, but they prefer to face-to-face and looking at the eyes. Yeah, so yeah.
Let's go back to the main room. Some people may be there.
Okay.
So thank you very much for working with us. Hello, welcome back. We're just waiting for the rest of us to come back. How was your smaller group session?
Very good.
10 minutes fly by like that.
I know, you know, when we're resonating with each other and getting into a conversation, time flies. So what are some of the insights that the smaller groups have come out with? As you hear each other talk, what are some of the things that's coming up for you?
That clients, and whether they be clients or coaches, are still preoccupied with COVID-19 issues. For myself, though, I find this is a very enriching environment and conditions to be working under, because it forces everybody to slow down. And I find that working with coaches and clients, they're much more receptive, much more relaxed, less in a busy state, and more of a relational, conversational orientation. So I find that the sessions go by much more fluidly. They have a nice flow to them now, as opposed to having a fixation on checking their phones or being distracted.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. So it's quite nice, isn't it? Actually, there's some beautiful effects of this stay-at-home and pandemic. It actually is a hard pause, but people are taking that hard pause and become what I call coming home to themselves, coming and becoming awake to what they really want. So thank you, Michael, for that sharing. Who else would like to share from your group?
I learned something from my colleagues, which was no surprise, which was that reflecting on my triggers, what triggers me, can generate greater understanding of what might be triggering my client, and indeed how the client might be triggering other people around him or her. Yikes.
Yeah. Yikes. Yeah, it took a COVID. It took a COVID to tell us how interrelated we are, but actually we are interrelated even before. So thank you, Jeff, for that point. Anyone else would like to share? So my last question, sorry, carry on.
Yes, I was just going to say I was part of the Jeff's group, the Triple J group.
Triple J group.
Jaya, Jeff, and Janine, and it's just, I guess, not so much what we discussed in our group, but on reflection now, it was a very, I don't know, peaceful and calm conversation, very reflective conversation. So again, it comes into your point about this time is really supporting us to be very reflective and mindful, and potentially creating even greater awareness and new learning. So thank you for that space.
Thank you for all your willing sharing in your own space, because this thing will not work if one is not willing. So let's thank everyone in this space for creating that space for each other and ourselves. And my last question is on the slide is, what are you noticing? Is my slide back on? No, of course not. So what are you noticing about yourself as you are, you're calm? Or Michael, you want to say something?
Oh, sure. Yeah, what's coming up for me is, as an extreme introvert, I'm full of energy these days. So I've been waiting for this moment for, it seems, all my life to actually start having good flow and good energy. So for me, this isn't disruptive at all. If anything, it's very energizing and allows me to be, to reflect and create and to envision in a way that doesn't allow the outside world to come crashing in on me as it usually does. So I feel sorry for the extroverts who are suffering under these conditions, but as an introvert, I see a noticeable shift in my demeanor in terms of being much more energized and much more focused because of that, because of these conditions.
Thank you. Well done. It works for some people, doesn't it? This COVID is not all that bad and gray. Anyone else? What are you noticing about yourself?
I mean,
Alex.
Our group was Robbie and Francine from KL, Robbie from Portland, and me from Seoul. And we started from checking ourselves for the dialogue. And it was very interesting that, the coaches have in different spaces, as a coach, as a supervisor, we are in different phases, going through this, crisis situation. And, some people are more empathetic and, and moving to hope. And some people are more energized by the crisis. And so they are ready for the crisis and they are more curious about, how to go through this situation together. So I think, all have space to contain the clients. And at the same time, I think, that we are going through our own crisis management as well.
Well said. Indeed, we are all going through our, we are in the environment together with our clients or supervisees. So what shows up for us is just normal because we're part of the system. We're interrelated, interconnected. I'm just, it's becoming so clear. So for those of us who are not, maybe familiar with relational presence, I thought I'll just put some words, not a strict definition, but my interpretation of relational presence. So to sort of just help us focus and, be in the same frame as we think about relational presence. For me, it's a supervisor state of being in sync. And when I say supervisor, please forgive me, you can replace that word with a coach, if you're a coach. So it's the supervisor state of being in sync and in flow with the other, open to being changed by the conversation. As something that we talk about in Theory U as well, where we go down the U, we're basically, in no man's land and just wondering and allowing the wisdom to arrive into our system. So what we're doing in intimate conversations and working with our clients, there are times where we will be open to being changed in the conversation, and we're tuning into the higher wisdom. You may call them your guides, your bigger self, whatever those labels you may use. And for me, it's a cornerstone for transformational learning, because in supervision, coaching, to a large extent, what we're actually doing is supporting the other person to learn so that they can, carry on either their practice in a stronger way from quality and standards. For supervisors, it's quality and standards, their own skills, competence, and also the restorative part, which is they are able to, I have energy again to, to go on to my next client and serve my client at an almost equal level of service. So that's, in itself, we're helping people to learn how to be all that. And what we consciously, you may be aware, but we often pay very little attention to is that our limbic system in the brain is being engaged. Okay, Jeff was talking about, you know, when my triggers and then my clients are triggering in their system. So actually, all this is what I call, it's the emotive part of us that is at work, even though we may not be aware of it. So resonance is when we come in, you remember I took a breath with everybody, is trying to get us in, you know, using the breath to just be in sync with each other a little bit more in this space. Limbic regulation is one where we begin to, you know, form patterns. So limbic regulations has happened all the time. And what that happens is that when we decide something new for ourselves, our brain begin to, for example, I'm very dependent on, let's say as a child, I'm very dependent on my parent. I begin to form an emotional attachment. I love to see them, I'm dependent on them, or my daughter's dependent on me. And that emotive and empathetic part of ourselves begins to form. Now, just to say it simply, this is no, I'm not claiming I'm an expert in that. I'm just trying to get us to a level of understanding. And then revision is when we want to interrupt. So in therapy, they call this modulating emotions. They can use drugs or they can use, you know, emotive. So we can begin to revise the other person's emotional neural pathway. So all these things is happening and we can't quite control it. That's the thing. That's why I want to bring our attention to that. Why is that important? Is that as a coach, as a supervisor, as a coach, we are holding space for our clients. And as a supervisor, I think Damien and I had a conversation in our smaller group about what are we holding for? We have the supervisor here, we have the coach here, we have the client's interaction. We're working with these systems. So energetically and limbically, we are involved and engaged in this system. So can you imagine we're already, you know, this looks pretty complicated, at least from my standpoint. And then there's the outer system that we are also holding, which is the client's organization's culture, trends that's going on in their industry. Right now, if they're in the crude oil trading, good luck. Things are not looking up. If they're in the financials industry, gosh, it's been turbulent for years, you know, and still turbulent. And in the retail industry, there are other things going on. So whichever industry that we look at, they have their own set of challenges that we are engaged in when we work with our clients. Of course, family systems, we don't have them and globally. And this global one now makes even more pertinent sense because we are in this pandemic together. We are all experiencing this together. So one of the things that I was sharing in my group is that I am noticing that recently I get tired a lot more easily. And I feel like, oh, I just need to have a nap. After working for a while, my exercise regime, everything stays the same. Of course, I can't, you know, I'm also in a stay-home situation in Singapore now. But somehow I just find that my energy drops quite quickly. I check my sugar intake, it's okay. I didn't do any more than the usual. So what then comes dawn upon me is that, you know, all this influences is coming and influencing our limbic. So before we get there, love to hear any reflections, any thoughts that you'd like to share with the group right now. Feel free to come in. As you look at this,
so we are holding in our group with Felicia, where Felicia said that sometimes there is a lot of emotionality. So we experience a lot of emotionality in the client for everything that's happening in the bigger context. And we also have to deal with our own emotionality, like the roller coaster of the experiences, the new experiences that we are all having. So we're talking that sometimes we may not be aware that as supervisors, we're holding the space, not only of the supervisee, but also the coach and the client. Sometimes we may not be aware how challenging can be to be holding that space for all of these people. And we have to also be careful and pay attention to what's happening to us. Because even though we are coaches, supervisors, trainers, we still need to deal with all of this ourselves, and we need to be in touch with what's happening to us, to be present to our own reactions.
Yeah, and if I go back to limbic revision earlier on, a lot of the work that we do when we're holding, and we're not consciously rescuing or supporting them to change. But in order to have that influence of help, giving them a space of changing, actually we need to hold that space of change or revision for ourselves. So our own limbic is also revising or getting into what I call getting our hands dirty. If they are stressed, we can't help but we will remember our stress patterns. We will re-experience it in a small way. We may be very centered and be able to hold. However, our body is still experiencing it. So that takes energy. So, so when I say hold space, it's not just about holding it in the head. Actually, our whole being is holding that client and their systems. So I wanted to just bring attention to that because it's something that you may all know, but it's very easy to forget. Implications for supervisors or coaches, again, interchangeably. One of the things I'm looking and wondering right now is this thing around over-empathetic versus distancing. I don't have any more other than those words, but I want to open this up as a discussion and reflection. What is the impact? When do we find ourselves being over-empathetic? When do we find ourselves distancing? Any thoughts?
Felicia, I can go. When you say hi, when I see over empathetic, I'm resonating, not really resonating. I'm seeing the example that the whole world is ready to offer everything free. So I see that as over empathetic, and how come everything changes because how come the value of what you offer changes when there is a pandemic. So that makes me question and make me connect to this word over empathetic. Even universities like Harvard or MIT and everybody's saying this free, that free. Yeah. So what's going on?
Thank you, Jaya. That's such a good observation, isn't it? Indeed, that's like, my God, there's so many free Zoom stuff around that I get giddy just looking at in my inbox. Thank you, Jaya. Anyone's picking up information about distancing?
I'd just like to add to what Jaya said. I feel generosity. I think that at the time when people are giving free, the generosity can actually be overwhelming. Yeah. And then in terms of over empathetic and distancing, depending on where our clients are, our clients could actually be in a place where the nation is making drastic decisions and the sense of existential is affected. They don't have basic things like masks and things like that. They don't have a place where they can sit. And therefore we then give space, time. It can only heal. So, okay, let's connect again in 2 weeks' time when things are a little settled. And that's what I really experienced. And therefore we need to give that distance to let them settle. Because when we're empathetic, yet over empathetic, will also drown and not let themselves. So I felt I had to hold so that the client in this case can actually have space and actually reconnect again.
Thank you. Giving space. Janine, sorry. Michelle?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I do, with all this pro bono programs, especially in France. We have a lot of coaches doing pro bono work and then a lot of supervisors doing pro bono work. And so I have asked to do supervision of supervision because, and I do a lot of it. And what I notice is that the emotion is percolating up. And my job as a supervisor is to calm down. I mean, it's I ask them to take more distance with all what's happening. Otherwise, they are out of control. You see, that's so. At the end of the chain, as a supervisor, I'm on the distancing side. Yes. I'm not going to put more empathy and more emotion in the system.
Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. That's really important because as supervisors and coaches, one of our key competence, in my humble opinion, is know when to intervene and at what level to intervene. The client's, stories and all that. Where is our intervention, the right intervention? So yes, we could see there's an overdrive of generosity, and there's a general. Suddenly, the rescuer and everyone is being called up and awakened. So everybody is trying to rescue everybody else. So that was my first notice when the pandemic started to spread.
I'm also picking up that when you're bringing in the drama triangle, that I'm getting a sense that sometimes the coaching can veer into I'm being considered a bit of a persecutor, in the sense that I'm trying to that because the client's life is not controllable, and I am there to facilitate how they orient themselves to this sense of lack of control. It triggers something in them that adds to the situation. I think building on what Michelle was talking about. So I find I have to be a little more delicate in terms of just doing coaching at a very basic level, if you will, because the clients are so highly attuned and so emotive that they're not in a place to be overly receptive to being proactive when they feel totally disempowered.
Thank you, Michelle. Michael, sorry. Janine, were you trying to? Sorry, Yusun, yeah.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to share is that myself and my coach colleagues actually started the mindfulness, training. So I find it is very helpful in terms of having some distance on the situation that I'm having with my client and also with other things. So we get together regularly and then we share some theory and ideas, and also.
Sorry, Yusun, you're breaking up.
I think this is very helpful. What I'm doing. Sorry.
Sorry, can you say your last bit again? I didn't catch it.
Oh no, last word is that this practice is very helpful in terms of having, maintaining the distances.
Yes, thank you. Maintaining distances.
So yeah, just wanted to share with you. Yeah.
Exactly. I totally resonate with that, because mindfulness is the practice of just falling awake to what is real and what is present. So the more we train up that neural pathway of falling awake to what is here, we begin to get less reactive. We are just calming that part of ourselves that's reactive. So it's a good exercise. I love that too. Thank you, Yusun. I've been looking at Janine for a long time. She has her mic on. I'm not sure if you want to say something. This is the time.
Thank you, Felicia. It was just a very quick thought with what you've got here. It's like the over empathizing has come in as a result of the distancing. So the over empathizing is trying to bring back the distancing. and yet potentially the over empathizing is creating the distancing. That's what I was hearing with some of the feedback from some of the participants as well, that it's like, oh, it's overwhelming. I've got to step back from this. So it's like there's an imbalance of that over empathizing and distancing, and somehow it's about, I believe, finding the balance again.
Yeah,
so
finding the balance again. Thank you. Francis, you had your hands up?
Yeah, so what came to me was the balance, exactly what Jeannie was saying.
Yeah.
I realized with some clients, they needed that empathy, an extra empathy. And some clients, they needed that space. So how do I balance between over empathetic and distancing? And that was the limbic revision that I was making with them. So depending on what they were needing at that moment, I realized that my own being was being checked or regulated or revised, so that when they needed empathy, it was being channeled to them. And those who needed the distancing, I was revising that limbic flow with them.
Yeah.
So that's something I was noticing. Thank you.
Thank you. And because I'm talking to a group of lovely coaches and supervisors, you've all gone into over empathetic and distancing. There's another end of that spectrum I didn't bring out, which is numbing. I have a lot of corporate clients, even some supervisees, that part of their coping mechanism is to numb, and do something and get into action. And so I just want to drop that into the space here, and just for us to also consider that spectrum, over empathetic, distancing, and numbing. All that is naturally our limbic reaction. And the other thing is, what we are not aware of is, I often say, the person with the more power wins in relational presence. So if you have someone coming in with a lot of very, very strong emotions, we will get influenced and affected. Because by nature, some part of our job is listening and empathy. So part of it, we will get impacted. I know that I'm trusting that all of us have a way to come back to center. So just now, what I did with you right in the beginning was a practice from Wendy Palmer, who's the leadership embodiment teacher, my leadership embodiment teacher. What she does is basically, just helping us to come back to core, finding our, I'm borrowing all your words, our center, rooting, so that we can be firmer when we work with people. So my metaphor of us in this season is like a willow tree, where we are quite flexible. If you need to be empathetic, you can. If you want to be distancing, you can. You have that whole range of ability, and yet, when it's time to come home, we are rooted. We are still, as a tree, we're intact because we have a lot more people to serve. So thank you for that rich discussion, because it is in the discussion and reflection that therein lies our wisdom.
Felicia,
yes.
Thank you for dropping the word numbing, because that's what I think I'm going through, and it almost makes you feel guilty when you look at over empathetic world, thinking that, hey, am I not doing enough, or is there something else I can do, or am I being insensitive? But I think there's also a space where you just want to be and do whatever you can versus, tilting towards over empathy. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And thank you for having the courage to just share with us what came to you. Well done. Oops, sorry.
Felicia?
Yes.
Can I just share?
Sue. Sure.
The word numbing brought up for me loss. And maybe this is how we cope with the loss of the world that we know before COVID. And this is the grief, part of the grief that we're all going through.
Yeah.
And think we need to be very aware of loss and grief that is in us and in our clients and in the system.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Sue, for sharing that. I think if I were, like a student studying, I would underline awareness. Nothing much to do about it, but just becoming aware and understand, because the ability to understand what is going on is so useful to me as an individual right now. I just thought I'll share that. I'm not saying that is for everyone, but as a supervisor, for me to try and make sense of things so that at least I have energy to, carry on is important to me. And I think we do that for our supervisees and coaches. Yep. Okay, I got the message. We've got 5 more minutes and I will finish in 5. Thank you, Damien. I'm not going to say that. Coming to the last slide. I think we've all said what we need to say in the previous slides. So I got this piece of drawing to share as the last bit to close for today. And this came from the general theory of love, where they talk about the limbic regulation, resonance, regulation, and revision, and how we love and how we relate to each other. Something that we do in supervision and coaching. So one of the things I want to leave us with is this indispensable tools are strong template of healthy relatedness within himself. So I'm going to confess, I have a very strong self-critic, and one of the things I criticize myself when I'm feeling tired is like, get a handle over yourself. I can hear my self-critic say, you find your energy, you should know this better. And then I go, okay, thank you. You can rest now. So having that light and friendly relationship with part of yourself that tends to come up and, give you, challenge you in ways that might not be useful. So it's really coming back to ourselves, and I put the tagline there, who is waiting to meet you? As in, who am I discovering I am throughout this journey? So we have a bit of time, a quick round of checkout before we leave each other and close. Damien, what do you have for us?
Sounds good. Do you want to stop? Do you want to share with everybody your information? So if anybody want to contact you, to be in communication with you?
That's the thing I didn't put there. I don't want to overwhelm you.
Why don't you put it in the chat room? In the chat room, why don't you put your information so people can copy and paste from the chat room in case that you want to read to Felicia. We're going to do the checkout. So let me do a couple of announcements and then we'll do the checkout and go. And there is what at the beginning of the session today, I shared that. You want to stop sharing the screen so we can all see each other?
Sorry, I will stop sharing.
That would be a nice way to wrap up the session today too.
Thank you.
So we are organizing the third Coaching Supervision Conference in the Americas. It was supposed to be in Mexico next week, but it's going to be virtually now. So if you are interested, there are only 5 places left. So Jaya, I know you were thinking about doing it. If you don't do it in the next day, you will not get the spot because we have Zoom is only for 100 people. And there are already 95 people enrolled. And I'm going to put here the link in case that you are interested in learning more about it and to register to the conference. We have people from 18 countries coming, and we have very amazing presenters during the 3 days. And we're going to be doing, Felicia, what you did today, that created a lot of space for sharing and learning from each other. Because as you see in these kind of groups, there is a lot of wisdom and experience and opportunities to learn from each other. So if you are still interested, let me know. If you are not in our mailing list, if you didn't get an invitation for tonight, please write down your email in the chat room too, so I can include your name in our mailing list. So when we have our Asian Supervision Network meetings, we can include you in the invitation. We meet consistently the last Wednesday of the month and the same time that we meet today. So the last Wednesday of the month, whatever time you are, is the same time. And for next month, we committed with Janine Bailey, who's here with us today from Australia. She's going to be doing the session that she's going to be presenting at the conference. She's going to do a similar, not exactly the same, because her partner is going to be in the middle of the night. But you know, we have Michelle from Paris, so we can tell Martine that Michelle was here if she still wanted to join you and do that here together. And so I'm going to be sending you the information about that. And also, there is the America Supervision Network website, where we record all of the sessions that we do at the time that is not good for Asia. So it's 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in the middle of the night in Singapore and most of other countries, but we record all of the sessions. So you have right now 24 different sessions with speakers from all over the world presenting on topics related to supervision. So that's a great resource if you want to take advantage of that. So I want to just make these announcements before we go. And with this, let's go around and share. I don't know, Felicia, what would you like people to say before we go?
A one-word checkout, just to in honor of everyone's time.
Energizing.
Thank you, Michelle.
Refresh.
Sorry, Tina?
Refresh.
Thank you, Jeff.
Grateful.
Thank you, Francis. Wisdom. Janine.
Grounded.
Thank you, Sue. Jaya.
Grounded.
Thank you. Thank you. Sue.
Gratitude.
Thank you, Robbie.
Curious.
Thank you, Janine.
Grateful.
Thank you, Larissa.
Complete.
Thank you. Who am I missing? Simchu?
Yep. Being together is good.
Yusun, thank you. Simchu?
Stillness.
Stillness, thank you. Judy, you want to say something?
Unknown.
Annoyed?
Unknown.
Thank you. I thought annoyed. What did I do? All right. Anyone else I'm missing? Michael?
New perspectives.
Thank you. And for me, I'm just grateful. Alex, you want something to go?
Oh, I already shared. Connection.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed you. Yeah, I'm going to hand back to you, Damien. Grateful for this time with all of you.
My word is grateful and present, and thank you, Felicia, for a great session today. And thanks, everybody. And being honest with you, I'm very pleased that we really are making this network a really Asian network. And this is what we really want, to be sure that we support the region. So if you want to invite colleagues, people that you know that may benefit from this space, people don't need to be supervisors to participate, can be coaches too. And our goal is to bring awareness of what is coaching supervision and how it works. So thanks, everybody. Have a good day, good night, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for being part of this meeting. Take care.
Go well, stay well.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Felicia.
Bye-bye.
Very great.
Bye. Thank you, Damien.
I am going to, okay, I already put the link, so in case that somebody want to copy and paste the link to register. Michael, if you want to do that, or Felicia.
Great, thanks. Yeah,
I
I'm
did
going
that.
to take a look at
I
it now.
copied. Yeah, and I'm going to look. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Felicia. You did a great job. Robbie, good to see you here. Good you came. And Sue, thank you for coming. So how do you find out about the session today?
See you soon.
See you on Thursday.
Bye now.
Bye. And Sue, you're from Singapore. How do you, well, I miss her, but we'll see you later. Take care. Bye, Michelle. Good seeing you.